It was very difficult. I didn't have any work at all after Mirzya for almost a year. I didn't have any work. Acting तो एक चीज़ होती है that you have to be passionate about it. But एक चीज़ होती है you have to be very thick-skinned. So for me, just the self-confidence that Anurag Kashyap gave me, that took me a long way.
Hi everyone. Today we have a great guest with us today, Saiyami Kher. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you Pratiksha and thank you Quint for having me over.
आपने बहुत बार बात की है कि your parents decided that you and your sister should grow up in Nashik instead of Mumbai जैसे बड़े शहर में. What was kind of the reasoning behind that?
So they are from Mumbai, but they didn't want to bring us up in a big town where you don't have space to play, you don't have space to go swim in lakes and climb mountains. So I've grown up where nature was very much a part of my childhood, and I'm glad that happened because when I came back to college and I asked my friends, and where do you all go swim? They're just like, we don't know how to swim. And for me, that was just like everyone knows how to swim. That's how I've grown up. So it just exposes you to many more different things. It's not a very urban upbringing where your life is between your school and malls and cinema halls, and I feel it's even लोगों से जो connection होता है क्योंकि in a small town, like evenings, if you're not, I used to do a lot of badminton coaching, so I used to go there. But you always have your friends together in your small colonies, and everyone's just always together. When you come to a big city, it suddenly feels very lonely. So I feel that also, I think, is something about a small town which I really miss. And बड़े शहरों में कैसे होता है, you call and say, are you free, may I come? वैसे होता ही नहीं था. It used to just be like you're at each other's houses. So I think that's a big difference which I really miss.
इसकी मन किया तो उनके घर चले गए.
हाँ बिल्कुल.
I was reading somewhere that your mother had said कि your father had made sure कि आपके और बहन का sports के तरफ काफ़ी ध्यान हो, which is evident you love sports.
So my parents tried to inculcate sport in both me and my sister, but she really doesn't like sport. So I think it's also something which you like. She's really good with languages. They tried to do that with me as well, and I was just like, ये नहीं होगा यार, please मुझे माफ कर दो. So everyone picks up what I think they also really enjoy. I started badminton when I was like 7 years old, and I started playing tournaments under 10, like from that. And I started traveling in school. I used to, मैं Mumbai आती थी. I used to go to Nagpur, Delhi to travel. So school was fully traveling with our badminton team. And that's how I even picked up cricket on my own. Actually, it's a funny story because Iqbal the movie is one of my favorite childhood films. We had a boy who used to work with us whose name was Iqbal, and he taught me how to play cricket. So it was just him saying that chalo khelte hai, like that evening thing, that's how I learned how to. I'm madly and completely crazily obsessed with cricket.
I'm aware.
So like my house has like a hanging ball, it has a cricket bat, like these are my de-stress things even now. I completely give credit to my father and my mother for showing me that way and pushing me there, but it's just something which I just completely took to.
ऐसे आते वक्त I wasn't sure if this was a house. Then I saw the bat and I was like, yeah, this is definitely it. I also know that you and your sister were managing a restaurant at some point.
Yes. So that's what I was talking about, is the exposure was so different when you were younger because yes, there was school, but school ke pehle I used to be allowed late in school because I used to be training for badminton. School ke baad used to be badminton, and in between whenever my parents worked in the restaurant, so we used to always be there. But restaurant का खाना allowed नहीं था because my father used to say नहीं घर का खाना है, so my mother had to cook in the restaurant for us. We were not allowed to eat outside food. But we, in our summer vacations and things, we used to work there. Like we had 3 restaurants. My dad used to manage one, mom used to manage one, and my sister and I used to manage one restaurant. So just like I was 10, she was 12, and I used to be handling the kitchen with like 30 grown-up men, and I used to be ordering them around and saying that at table number 12 ka khana kyun nahi gaya, and ye wo, like fully like a boss at like 10 and 12. Properly the responsibility was ours, that if we had so much sales, my sister used to count the money, put it in, and if the sales didn't match the money that was in, my parents used to properly shout, saying that if you are taking responsibility, you'll have to be responsible. So they had given us complete responsibility at that age of 10, 13 years old. So even when I go back to Nasik now, like it's a small town, right? So people feel happy seeing what you're doing and like seeing you're doing films and things like that, but they'll still say, we remember you as the kid who used to be ordering around people in the restaurant. So it is a very fond memory, and someday I hope to have a restaurant of my own.
I'll come for sure.
Please do.
If it's here.
I'm glad we have Quint pushing my restaurant already.
Yeah, because I watched the show called The Bear where
Yes.
it's about a chef,
Yes.
right? And the amount of stress that they go
It's
through.
very stressful, and that's something which, again, they said that when you are doing something in the service industry, customer's king. So if the customer comes and says anything to you, you have to be like with a polite face, say yes sir, you're right. And well, a lot of that happens in the film industry as well, where you have to smile and say yes sir, you're right to a lot of people, but that's how it is.
Speaking of the film industry, आपका पहला जो entry था into films, how did that happen?
My first film, of course, was Mirzya, which was directed by Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra. But उसके पहले हर actor के struggle अलग होते हैं. For me, it was pretty much 90% of what people struggle when they come to Mumbai. आराम नगर में जाओ, lines में खड़े रह के auditions लो, फिर casting directors कहेंगे not fit and not let you come in after waiting in line for so long. So वो struggle तो रहा. 99% rejection होता है. Acting तो एक चीज़ होती है that you have to be passionate about it. But एक चीज़ होती है, you have to be very thick-skinned. And this actually, I was very fortunate because Sushma Reddy, she was a RJ and a model. She was a Channel V RJ and a very renowned model, Samira's sister. So Sushma was the one who said you should model, you should try it out and stuff. So when I was starting off, she said that first thing, you have to be very thick-skinned because people will judge you on the basis of how you look, how you talk, how you walk, how you sit. So you cannot let it affect you because they will be nasty to you, and that's the truth. So I was like, I'm just a college kid, like am I ready for this and all. So she said that's the first lesson. So for me that was a very big lesson because it continues to be that is you're always judged. So if you are not secure in your own self, then it's a very difficult place to be. So for me, there was that whole rejection phase, which is very difficult as a 17, 18-year-old when you're only getting no's. It continues to happen now. I'm 30 also, but it's no's still come only. But you learn to deal with it better, I think. So Mirzya happened through a long 6-month auditioning process, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. The outcome mustn't have been very successful, but it was just the most exciting experience of my life.
But this is something that has fascinated me. मतलब you're also a sports person, right? And sports में winning and losing is very black and white. You win,
Yes.
like if you play better, you win. That's done. But films का success का metrics are very different,
Correct.
right? So how did you adjust to that kind of dissonance?
I'm still adjusting. I'm still adjusting because like you know, like you said, when you play badminton, if it's 11 love, 11 love, 11 you're the winner. If you play cricket and you 250 to chase, you make 251, you're the winner. There is no gray. It's black and white.
Yeah.
But with film, you sign the biggest debut film which anyone would dream of, with Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, Gulzar Saab, SEL, Harshvardhan Kapoor. And then it doesn't work for whatever reason, it doesn't come together, the audience doesn't like it at that point, so it's not in your hand. Sometimes, with all due respect, there are like, I'm not saying Mirzya is some classic film or anything, but I'm saying there are many films which are very alright, but they end up becoming super hits. And I don't think there's like Amir sir has gone and said this, is we never know what makes a film successful. So if Mr. Amir Khan doesn't know what makes a film successful, how would a mere mortal like, you know, me who's getting in the industry know, right? So once you get that clear that you're not here for the success and the outcome, then you'll be fine. So I was very fortunate. I met two of my teachers who still I go to for any, Adil Hussain and Dilip Shankar are my two people I go to. So I know I love being in front of camera. अभी उसके बाद जो होता है वो मेरे हाथ में नहीं है यार.
But after Mirzya, was it tough to kind of get into like more roles?
It was very difficult. I didn't have any work at all after Mirzya for almost a year. I didn't have any work. And like I said, there is absolutely no regret about Mirzya. And if I can turn the time back, I'd want to do the film. I still defend, I think it's one of the finest music albums, one of my top 3 SEL albums for sure. every month I go and meet Gulzar Saab. For me, that's the biggest takeaway. I'm a big fan of Gulzar Saab. My equation with Rakesh sir after all these years, he's like family I have in the city. My parents don't live here. So there's a lot I took out of it. I had a really good time on the film. Only later did I realize that box office success is very important. So I didn't have work for a year, and that's when I met Mr. Anurag Kashyap. I was sitting at Mami watching a film, and he looked at me and said, "Picture karegi," and that was it. And then 4 years he didn't do anything, so I had to chase him for 4 years. So he was a very, very solid person I used to go to say, "This has come my way. Should I take it? Should I not?" And he gave me a very realistic idea of where I stand. So it was difficult, but then I feel that, like you said, sport has taught me a lot. So you have to chin up and kind of just keep working, you know.
Choked, the film, that was where I first kind of googled that, oh, who is this actor? You know, I watched that now, so this is a very good performance, especially you and Amrita Shabash were.
Thank you, Pratisha.
Thank you very much. But that was the first time when I googled, oh, who is this person,
Yes.
right? So is Choked like a special project for you?
Choked is a very, very special project. The project aside, just for a man called Anurag Kashyap, who's an institution for us, just to work with him, for him to believe in me when nobody did. So for me, just the self-confidence that Anurag Kashyap gave me, that took me a long way, because like I said, he went away and then he shot Sacred Games 1, Sacred Games 2, Mirzya, Love Stories, and like 5 projects in between. But I knew he'll make it with me, because it's that trust you have with a man where you feel like नहीं यार ये बंदा झूठ नहीं बोल रहा है, ये करेगा.
अब बोल दिया है तो फिर.
हाँ. So वैसे लोग बोलते हैं नहीं करते, पर with him you know there is truth. With Anurag Kashyap, what you see is what you get. He can say anything and throw you off, but that's the nice thing, right? You get honesty from him, and I really enjoy honesty. So just the self-belief he put in myself, because not too many people were believing in me. I wasn't believing in myself either, maybe, and that's what he instilled in me. And then of course the film, the role was, nobody could have imagined me like that after a Mirzya, where it was all very urban and glamorous. Suddenly he said, and that was his brief to me, is you'll look older, you'll have a child, you will have no makeup, soch le tu. So I said, if you are directing, I'm on, nothing else.
तो उसके बाद then Breathe also happened.
Yes.
Abhishek Bachchan के साथ. I think I've watched both seasons of that show. Also a very, like, thriller is one of my favorite genres. So how was the experience of that, of Breathe?
So, you know, it was actually Mirzya, and after Mirzya, I did a Marathi film called Mauli with Ritesh Deshmukh. But like I said, then there was Breathe, there was Special Ops, there was a Telugu film called Wild Dog with Nagarjuna. This was all in between Choked. But like I said, I used to go, there were a lot of offers coming in, but there was literally like the girl had nothing to do in it. 4 गाने हैं, डांस है, वैसे वाले ऑफर आ रहे थे. So I used to go to AK and to Anurag, and he used to say that, see, OTT is going to be the big thing. So Breathe was literally like the second show that was made. It was very new. Sacred Games also hadn't come out that time.
Yeah, one
when
of the
Breathe
first
1 came. Yeah. So he said that is your role impactful? Is it going to change the show? So I said it is very integral to the show. He said, don't think about screen time, think about impact. So it was basis his advice, I did Breathe. It was basis his advice, I did the Marathi film Mauli, saying that he said you're Maharashtrian, you have to, Marathi audience आहे त्यांच्याशी बोल. So he was saying that त्यांच्याशी connect करायला पाहिजे. So it was again his, like I used to go to him saying, do you think this makes sense? That doesn't make sense. Special Ops was also Neeraj Pandey. I think it's that genre which he loves making, and Neeraj sir is fantastic at it. Like Wednesday is one of my most favorite films. So is that genre which he is so very good at. So he said, why would you not want to do action, and it's going to become bigger in the next season. So it was all that. With Breathe, of course, working with AB, which he's become my co-star. I've worked with the most now, because I've just done a film with him. But
Ghoomer,
yes. But it was great fun.
But you're getting to play a cricketer in Ghoomer, right? I'm sure that's exciting.
So, you know, my mother used to keep saying you should manifest things that you want. And nowadays, Instagram per manifestation is like the thing, right?
A big thing, yeah.
So I actually used to be like, but I didn't believe it. But I think I believe in it now, because this is something that I have been wanting ever since I started acting. Like I would chase every sport film that was made. Unfortunately, whatever, things didn't work out. But with this also, Balki sir actually had met me 4 years ago and he wanted to do this 4 years ago. But it was not coming together. So for me, this is just the best thing I could ask for because I really love being in front of camera and I really love cricket. So
Dono
it's just
passions are just
merger of both those things is just the most exciting thing. It definitely has, like people ask me saying, "Okay, now you're playing cricket, it must have been easier for you." This has been the toughest film that I've done till date because I'm not just playing a cricketer, I'm playing a cricketer with disability. So I don't have an arm in the film. So emotionally, this film has sucked everything out of me. Like I had to go for a diving trip to just like come back to just normalcy because it was just living a life of somebody who's gone through such kind of a tragic accident. It's really taken a lot out of me.
takes a toll on you, I'm
Yes.
sure. But yeah, like आप वैसे normally तो you play right-handed, right? But you had to switch for the film.
Yes.
And
सो फिजिकली भी वो टफ ही था क्योंकि लोग क्रिकेट तो मैं राइट हैंड से खेल ही लेती हूँ पर अब लेफ्ट हैंड से ऐसे थोड़ी होता है यार कि आप मतलब वायलिन बजाते हो तो आप दूसरे हाथ से भी वायलिन बजा लोगे, ऐसे नहीं होता ना. ट्राई कटिंग अ नींबू विद वन हैंड, नहीं होता. ट्राई कटिंग विथ योर अदर हैंड, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. सो ट्रेनिंग वाइज आई ऑब्वियसली स्पेंड अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम डूइंग थिंग्स विथ just one hand and I did all that training, but that's when you kind of realize how you take so many things for granted.
on the other side of things, do you still kind of जैसे starting में जब आपको projects मिल रहे थे, you wanted your characters to be impactful, right? कि अगर इस character को film से निकाल दिया जाए,
Correct.
then that will be an effect, right? So that's something that you look for when you get scripts.
Absolutely, that's something which I look for. That's like I said, again, this is something that AK taught me is that even if it's small, the screen time small, does it have an impact on the film is something which should make a difference. Like it shouldn't be a character which is just forgettable, you know.
Yeah, so and I was actually forgot to ask you the starting में, but both of your parents are models, right? They're supermodels, in fact. मतलब. So did that kind of have an impact on you growing up? That
Not
kind
at
of,
all, yeah. Then my father used to joke that my mother was Miss India, I forgot which year, and he says now she's Mother India. So there was no impact whatsoever with modeling, and like I said, our life was extremely normal and we had a very middle class upbringing. So it was never a topic of discussion, like it never was. It just so happened that I went to college, started doing theatre, enjoyed it and came back to wanting to do this. But there was absolutely never any that kind of influence in our upbringing at all.
ऐसा कभी नहीं था कि यही करना है.
बिल्कुल नहीं,
Because
बिल्कुल नहीं.
clearly-
यही करना है मतलब actually they were surprised. अभी भी वो पूछते हैं कि are you sure, why are you acting? Like they still wonder why. Like all my school friends and college friends, when I decided to model and act, they actually laughed. First they laughed, and after they laughed, they said, हाँ ठीक है यार कर ले, एक हाथ picture कर देगी and Sachin will come to see your film. So my college friends thing was that you act, so एक दिन कुछ film करेगी और सचिन picture देखने आएंगे. That was the reason.
Just both of you becoming fans of each other, hopefully.
That is pushing it. It's really pushing it. But just for him to even watch, it's like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
But even for badminton training, you used to do with Saina Nehwal. if I'm
No,
not
no, I
wrong.
didn't do trade. I played opposite her and she smashed me. So this was junior nationals. I don't think she'll remember also, but she smashed me like some 11-3, 11-4, something like that. Like totally smashed me, and I must have been 14. So I realized that boss, इसमें तो career मुश्किल ही है, because I was ranked India 8, India 9 or something like that. But we've not trained. I've played opposite her.
The fact that you have been doing so many things when you were like 10 to 14 is still shocking to me.
So many नहीं, sport और
So sport, you were getting
Restaurant.
into acting, restaurant.
नहीं, acting तो बहुत बाद में हुआ ना.
Teens only.
That was
10
17,
years.
18. Yeah.
That decade where everyone is just relaxing in college.
I was also relaxing only क्योंकि बचपन में पूछते हैं ना 10th, especially 9, 10 तो बड़े होके क्या करना है and all. So when people used to come home once, like my parents used to just look at me because I was, how does a 13-year-old know what that person wants to do in life, right? So I used to say, I want to be an architect, like with a straight face. Then next day somebody used to come, I used to say, I'm thinking of getting into medicine. Like I used to just make up stuff, and my parents used to look at me saying, "What is wrong with you?" But they are asking me, so I'll keep a straight face and answer saying, "हाँ, I think I'm going to be a CA." So कुछ भी मैं बोल देती थी to different people. So I think as an actor, I ended up trying to do all of it, right? Because as an actor, you can live all these lives.
That's what you're doing now also.
Yes.
कभी ये, कभी cricketer, कभी वो. Very smart. But okay, to wrap things up, I'll ask you one last thing. If there was one thing that you had to tell yourself, either when you were managing your restaurant or when you just entered the film industry, what would it be?
I think different times it's a different thing. Like the restaurant time, I was a kid, I was really enjoying myself. With regards to the films, and when I grew up a little more, because 10 is really very young. But when I grew up a little more, there's a line that Javed Akhtar wrote which resonated with me a lot, which said, "क्यों डरे जिंदगी में क्या होगा, कुछ ना हुआ तो तजुर्बा होगा." So I feel that's a line which just resonated, saying that don't be frightened of what is going to be. Like just enjoy it, because it's going to be an experience which will make you something better.
That's wonderful. That's actually a wonderful note to end this on. Thank you so much for talking
Thank you,
to us today.
Pratiksha. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.